I'm not going to worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy.
We talking about
Twitter. Triple yoy.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy.
This is a product of your journey, and your journey's not over yet. Woo!
Never give up on the Steelers.
I mean, let's not get dramatic.
We mock ourselves.
This is what is the most ridiculous about Steelers fans this week or this season. You know, half the league is eliminated from playoff competition.
Or about to be.
No more meaningful games left in their season.
That's right.
Not only are we in the playoffs, we're on the verge of a division win, division title.
Yes.
And for 20 some years, only one season have we not been eliminated from contention at this point in the season. 20 years. But Steeler Nation wants to remind you that the apocalypse is coming.
Or already here.
Why even play the postseason? It's not going to matter. It's not going to, only one team can win the title. And according to my sources on social media, we may as well just pack it. Can we start tanking for draft picks now?
Yes. Unfortunately, we're going to be so bad at tanking, we've already made the playoffs.
Yeah. We can only tank to 20th or something. I don't know. It's what Yinz talking about. The conversation about the Steelers' social media conversation, exposing all your hot and toxic takes, unleashing hell, unleashing toxicity. I guess that is is that a byproduct of Hell Unleashed?
Right. I think it comes through the ducts. You get that toxicity bile.
Don't breathe in too hard. I'm Kyle Chrise. Next to me on the white wall is Craig Benevent.
Hello.
We need a set or something.
I love this. It shows people just how much taller you are than me. Like, this is exactly what it's like. I'm shorter than you think.
Don't worry, I slouch, so if only I had posture.
Oh, geez. You're sitting better in your chair than me. I'm sitting back. It looks like I'm sitting back in Pittsburgh here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm back from Pittsburgh where at the airport pro shop, still no Hayward jerseys.
Wow.
You could get a Russell Wilson 3, you could get a Patrick Queen 6.
Huh.
You could still get a Franco, of course, if you wanted. Bradshaw.
That makes sense. I mean, those should always be available. But 97 should be available too. I'm flying out to Pittsburgh tomorrow, so I will also see when they don't have the 97 jerseys there. They should.
All right, enough caucus, because we've got some toxic takes.
Oh, I bet. First loss in a while, and a bad-looking one at times, too.
But, yeah, biggest loss since the Browns loss. My goodness. All right, let's get to the takes. Let's start with, actually, some takes that I can endorse. Like at Opegotem 073 Steeler Nation. Some of y'all just an absolute embarrassment to the Steelers fan base. Go root for another team. If you only a fan when they're winning, we don't want you over here. Tough game, tough penalties, and a turnover at the worst time. Ish happens. Ohio next week. Definitely this is definitely the take that I agree with. Like, time to get off the bandwagon. You jumped on the bandwagon in October or September, and now we just hit the little bump in the road to knock all you posers off the bandwagon.
Well, a couple things. One, that final sentence of that tweet is very much something Tomlin could and probably did say to them after the game. And two, the only thing I disagree with that is, I'm not sure the people this person is complaining about are fans when they're winning either. I think this person's also complaining when the team is winning.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know by the takes. Are they fans? Sometimes I got to check. I'm like, what are these guys even Steelers fans?
You have to go through the profile to see, like, I guess there's a picture of a terrible towel icon, I suppose.
Are they some other fan that's just watching the America's game with Tom Brady. More takes I can vibe with.
Okay.
At Bam _ Mr. Bedrock, the chosen son. Steeler fans before Sunday's game. This game is meaningless. It won't matter. Steeler fans today. The season is over. We suck. Najee's gone. Rush is washed. Put in Fields. Cooked ass fan base, emotional roller coaster. I agree. We spent all week talking about how we haven't beat Philadelphia since '65 in Philadelphia, and how you had marked this loss back in May.
Oh yeah, no, because for the exact same reasons that you said. But I love the put in Fields takes after Fields was actually hurt.
Yeah.
Steeler fans, you are out of your frickin' minds.
Out of your frickin' mind, Steelers fans. Give me a break. Yeah, we'll talk Fields a little bit. How about more of takes I can vibe with?
Okay.
At Jaw West Coast, we are finally good again. No, wait, let's go back to at Mazursky 8895 Baku. Only in Pittsburgh does the world end over losing a meaningless out-of-conference game plagued with injuries while still clinching a spot in the playoffs the same day. End of the world. Get back healthy next week and take the North Crown. I mean, even though people were saying we were going to lose this, I don't know if it was meaningless.
It wasn't. No game is meaningless because especially I also don't like how people say it's meaningless. Okay, we'll just go win the next game. Okay, we'll just go win in Baltimore. That's insanely difficult as well. No game is meaningless, not in a 17-game schedule.
Yeah, if you thought Philly was tough, we still got Baltimore. But I like the vibe.
Yeah, no, the vibe. It's how often do we get to say I like the vibe ever on this show?
Yeah,
We're going to live that life.
we're living that life today. How about here's at Ja West Coast. We are finally good again. Real reason I stopped coming on Twitter is because it's a new era of Steeler fans, bruh. Back then, we all rocked with optimism. When was that? When was that?
We rocked with optimism on Twitter. No, we didn't.
Not, maybe draft day. Draft day is the only day that there's optimism.
Oh, but even then, it's why didn't you pick this guy? Why didn't you trade for some receiver? But anyway, yes, this person's point is still they got the right vibe.
Yeah, too bad we can't go back to the 2020 era of Twitter where we were undefeated and there were still people hating.
Oh, they were mad.
Let's go back to the Canada era where at least, everyone just had one track tweet mind. It was more of a mind hive. Now we don't know who to blame. It's Tomlin, it's Art, it's Russ, it's Art Rooney, whatever. We still have more. These are still the good tweets. Let's at Stats guy Daniel Valente. Steelers lose but still clinch a playoff spot in week 15. I'd say that's pretty good, considered many predicted they would miss the postseason or even finish in the basement of the AFC North, playoff bound. Yeah, all the 8.5 is what Vegas said wins.
Right. You beat me to it. If you bet that, you already won. You won around Thanksgiving. You have extra Christmas money. There is no reason to complain.
When we haven't clinched this early, I guess probably since 2020.
Probably since 2020, I would assume. Yes,
5 long years. Of not having to wait it out in week 18.
Right.
So.
Need the Jags to lose and not tie someone else.
No appreciation. All right, one more of the good guy tweets. At _ Adam Crowley. Steelers qualify for the playoffs today. 08 club lost in Philly and still won the Super Bowl. 2016 team was bludgeoned at the Link and went on to the AFC Championship game. So don't feel any different about this team than I felt yesterday. Beat the Ravens, win the North. I mean, and go back to the 2005 where they were 7-5, and so we're better off than we've ever been. Even the 2020 team, there were big signs of momentum slowing down.
Oh yeah. That you don't get with this team. I mean, that's not to say you never want to see them lose and lose convincingly, but still, there were a lot more signs that 2020 team was going to collapse, and not just because they randomly had to play a Wednesday game. That whole never being on a bye certainly did them in too. That 2020 season, yes.
Yeah, so we'll see. I guess there's still it's still. The report card is still incomplete. We still got 3 more games, and if we if we lose them all out, then let's cry some more tears going into the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
that way,
no. That looking at 6 or 7 seed. Yes,
a kind of celebration of ignorance.
Ignorance. Okay, it's time. Time for the bad takes. Let's start with my least favorite takes of the week. At Steeler Nation. Rex Ryan calls for Justin Fields to be the Steelers QB. Tells Steeler fans to panic. Watching it back. Well, I didn't watch the whole game. I watched Hard Knocks. So
okay, there you go.
And I don't think Russ. Despite the first half sluggishness, I look at that play to Calvin Austin, and Russ. Russ had it when he had the opportunity to create plays. It seems like I'm not ready to bench Russ. I'm not calling for.
Well,
Fields.
certainly not for someone that's hurt. Because remember, if you bench Russ, you're benching Russ for Cal Allen. I thought the offensive line was just overwhelmed for so many portions of this game, and that wasn't going to do anything for Russ. This particular take has been called out in many other places. I forget who said it. It was Alan Sanders or Matt Williamson. The idea that this would make sense if it's Rex Ryan who wants to coach next year and is trying to sign Justin Fields. So it's like, hey, I said this nice things about you back in December. Why don't you come on down with me to Jacksonville or something like that? Then I buy that. Would make sense. Otherwise, this is asinine.
Yeah, Rex Ryan is not in the league for a reason. I guess no one's interested in having him at the
perhaps
sidelines.
Yes. It's been a minute on that as well. It's not like he just got fired as a coordinator.
And I'm not panicking. I don't know when the panic time is fourth quarter in the playoffs. If we're down.
Panic is in the moment. Panic is not. You can't panic before the game. That's not, as a fan, that's not how it works. You can feel they're going to lose, but that's not a kind of panic. Like, I knew they were going to lose that title game to New England the last time they played it, but I wasn't panicking. I was just sad and expecting the worst, which occurred.
Everybody else gets a little tight.
Not panicking. I guess I'm voting for depression versus panic. That's not what I'm looking for. I back myself into a corner. But seriously, panic is something that happens in an instant. It's not something that happens before the game.
Everybody else gets a little tight.
Yeah, Rex Ryan's getting a little tight. Not me. I'm not worried at all. Please, we could be like the Chiefs, who might be without Mahomes. Now that might be panic.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is a name you might know. Your kids might know.
More of my least favorite takes from at Bobby J. Castine. Bobby Castine. Steelers are just not mentally prepared for a postseason push. After everything we've seen and, from the Hard Knocks outtakes, the meeting rooms, all that, mentally, this is always one of these intangible things you can't back up, all these takes. Oh, they're not mentally prepared, or, Tomlin didn't have them prepared. Come on. They've been hitting the books. We know that Russ and Art Smith are spending Friday nights in the film room, mentally prepared. I think if anything, these guys are prepared for a postseason push.
One, you're never going to be able to tell that from like a regular season game. And two, I'm not sure how you can mentally prepare for having the ball for 6 plays in the second half or whatever it was. There's nothing mental about that. That's the other guys are just a better football team, which is absolutely what happened here.
Let's prepare. We're only going to touch the ball twice, so we got to be prepared to score twice. It still wouldn't have mattered if they could have scored touchdowns on both those possessions, and it would have still been
because they lost the game in the first half with the 5 3-and-outs. That's where the game was lost.
And even at that point, it was what was halftime, 17-13,
right?
So even having the one of the worst first halves of the season, it wasn't well, of course it was.
But they can learn the lesson. Hey, you can't let that happen. You can't go the 5 3-and-outs and still expect to have enough energy on defense to win the game. That's a lovely lesson. If they learn that lesson from this game, then they'll be in a fine position for a playoff push.
Okay, last of the worst takes of this is the worst of the worst. At Gibbets7, Jacob. I'm fine with losing to a really good team. I'm not fine with peeing down your leg and showing your ass on national television. How is this your plan? Oh, so, if this would have just been, a blacked out game, the Phillies Steelers, that's fine, but the national game, and we matriculated down our leg. Whatever. Loss is a loss, right?
How could you lose this badly in front of Tom? Tom was there. He was weirdly hoarse. That freaked me out. I wanted Tom to get a lozenge. That was so strange. I'm like, why is Tom's voice this way? No, I will say, working with people that are not Steelers fans, I get a lot more messages when the Steelers lose in a national game than I do when they do another one, just because that's where the casual fan watches, and that's, and you will have to deal with more message than that, but that's not how I'm seeing it. Also, this person's lying because they're clearly not fine with losing to a really good team. That's what occurred here. That's, they lost to a very good team, maybe the best team, and I don't think they peed down their leg. I think they were just dominated by the better team, particularly in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't. This wasn't. Besides the Najee fumble, it wasn't just. It wasn't like a game of errors. As much as the claims will come up next in the Tomlin tweets. At Wally Capital, Wally. Tomlin's mistakes, refusing to pass on first down, Van Jefferson still rostered, not taking a 1st and 30, punting down 2 scores with 7 minutes left, playing TJ Watt after giving up on the game. Never been a fire Tomlin guy, but this is atrocious decision-making. F this ish. All right, so people thought this was the worst Tomlin game since the Browns, but... All right, so let's break some of these down.
Sure.
Refusing to pass on first down.
With what time? Who was going to pass? They were in the Jalen Carter, when he wasn't punching people in the head, dominated this game.
Besides the Bengals game, we haven't seen them just open up with the pass. They tell us how they want to play bully ball. Yes. They want to establish the run. They want to be on schedule.
That is a problem when the other guys bully you. I think that's a lesson we learned in this game.
Next Tomlin mistake, Jefferson still rostered. Oh my gosh, why haven't we benched him for OBJ? I saw the OBJ tweets this past week.
Well, I will say we were gaslit about them having a second receiver. I don't know if that's the case.
Calvin Austin there's no, we're used to the days when it was, Hines Ward and Santonio Holmes, or even, Randall L., or even Deontay and Chase Claypool. But, I guess we don't have, it's not Calvin Austin. He's not catching 50 balls a year.
None of these guys are getting open. This is the best pass defense. Those corners are great. There's a reason they spent, 2 first-round picks and everyone connected. Also, the Steelers in many mock drafts picked both of those corners that they had that were also great during the game. But this is why they were willing to trade the Heinz History Center for Brandon Ayuk.
That is a reasonable expectation.
What's the next mistake? Oh, not taking a 1st and 30. I didn't mind this. You had 2nd and 20. Mm-hmm. You got to stop them twice, or you got 1st and 30. You got to stop them 3 times. It's mathematically the same. You give Jalen Hurts 3 attempts, he's probably gonna get it. Well, in this case, you gave him 2 attempts and he got it.
Well, and also it's believing in the defense. Tomlin believed the defense could do the job, and they couldn't. It's putting faith in them. And sometimes I wonder if these Tomlin mistakes are him being faithful to his players to a fault.
Okay.
No, but I agree with you. I think if you can't, you should be able to stop them in 2nd and 20. Any offense.
Next, punting down 2 scores with 7 minutes left. Oh, I don't think it was 7 minutes. I think it was like 10 minutes. I don't know. It's there. If you believe in and the defense was getting splash and they were getting pressure. I feel like the most pressure. You didn't always have results, but I felt like it was the most pressure in a number of games. I didn't mind trying to pin them back, put the defense back out there. TJ Watt was playing, he was playing pretty inspired, I thought.
Well, in the first half. In the second half, the Eagles had started to control the ball quite a bit. I took that to mean, hey, this game's over. Let's get out of here. I don't know if you saw that tweet about, what was it, the surrender index? Somebody runs a surrender index account, and it was in the 98th percentile of most surrendering kicks in 20 years or something. Not that I agree with their methodology, but I took it to mean, yes, the game is over. That's what I took from that punt.
Oh, okay. I took it as, hey, there's still enough time to get the ball back.
What Tomlin said, and I think when he addressed it, because he was asked this exact same thing, was he said, hey, it was 4th and 7. If it was 4th and 5, I'd have gone for it. And I take him at his word with that, too. I thought it might have been a last-ditch. It was also at midfield. So, I see the argument for punting it, but, I took it to mean, okay, we're getting out of here.
Oh, what was the next mistake?
Leaving TJ on after.
Leaving TJ. Like, come on. It wasn't,
You can't take him out.
No.
I mean, it's again, this isn't Madden. These are human beings. TJ is not going to idly stand on the sideline while his brothers are out there still trying to win this game. Once you kick it, you absolutely, like Kyle said, the mindset was what Kyle just said. We're kicking it. We're getting the ball back. And you're not doing that to the rest of the team by holding TJ on the side. You can't do that to these guys.
Compared to the Ravens game, I think they were up like 35-10 before they pulled their guys.
Right. Oh, yeah. Again, this isn't a video game. These are human beings that care very passionately about this. You can't move them in and out like chess pieces.
I don't send messages. I just make moves.
Yeah, we're not sending messages by pulling TJ. Mm-hmm. What? Anything else? Okay. I think we covered.
Yeah.
But of course, there's the good old at X's Plays, speaking the time-honored tweet of Tomlin is terrible at situational football, penalties, time management, and timeouts. Again, who are the coaches in Canton that lead the league in time management and penalty? How are you going to put penalties on Tomlin? That's the most player worthy stat, I guess.
It is and it isn't. Like it's absolutely it absolutely is that the players, are the ones making the penalty. I mean, also when a team is highly penalized, that always comes back to a lack of discipline, which is what the coach is supposed to instill in them. But yeah, I so many of the penalties in this game were so weird. And again, there's a difference in if you want to blame a coach for a penalty, again, make it one that's undisciplined. I'm not blaming a coach for a penalty where the other guy's just that much better. Like when you're holding a guy, that's the offensive line holding. I'm not blaming a coach for that. The other guy's a stronger player. I don't see how, it's penalties that speak to a lack of preparation or lack of discipline, maybe. But the ones where the other guy's better, absolutely not.
The one where the rusher gets knocked into the long snapper, that's a new one to me. That I had to put that on my bingo card as I never learned about this one.
Yeah, it's weird because Mon Adams asked, am I doing the right thing before that to the ref, and he said yes, and then the ref gave him the penalty. Someone did, one of those, the refs that now go on Twitter and tell you what is and is not legal, did say that was the right call and that they're trying to get this play out of the game. But yeah, I imagine that's something for the competition committee to bring up when they sit around the pool in March or whenever that is.
I'm not overly concerned about all that little cute minutia.
Yeah, cute minutia like long snapper penalties. More Tomlin hate. At Charles24, Charles, I really wish Tomlin would retire from coaching. The game has left him a long time ago, and the rinse and repeat offense and lackluster defense shows this team will not advance. We are a regular season team under Tomlin and Arthur Smith. Anything more, you're delusional. Well, you are. I guess I'm delusional. Yeah, the game has left him a long time. When? Right. I mean,
he would have stopped winning had that been the case.
Look back at the Knoll years in the 80s where 5 years, no playoffs, losing records. The most we can say is 7 years, no playoff wins, which is a big difference from, some of the lows of the 80s and...
Well, also, it's such a hilarious criticism when you think about it. The idea this team only wins in the regular season. I mean, we're back to the Chris Carter criticism of he only catches touchdowns. Like, it's you have to parse it to see what the problem is. I mean, I'm not the first person to say this. I think it's Alan Saunders again about the idea of the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Things can bounce your way. Marquise Pouncey can snap it into the river. Le'Veon Bell can show up 5 minutes before the game starts, and Ben throws 3 interceptions to the Jaguars or whatever that was. So yeah, now they are due for some of that luck to bounce back. But I mean, the only way you get a chance to do that is by winning enough regular season games to be back in the playoffs.
That is the correct take. Anything can happen in the playoffs, and we're in. And please, I'd love to play Bo Nix or something. And then, okay, all right, let's not get ahead of ourselves. One more Tomlin hate it's coming from inside the house. At Trey Day 79, Trey Essex. It is legit coaching malpractice that Cordell Patterson is in the game. Pardon me. Over Jaylen Warren makes no effing sense. I took it when Cordell got in, it was because Najee was like pseudo benched. I think he didn't come into. I mean, we only had how many snaps, but Najee didn't come into the game after the fumble.
I mean, everyone made the same comment when somebody said, "Why didn't you see more Jalen?" Okay, Jalen had 5 carries, Najee had 6. They never had the ball.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I mean, there's the idea was to run the ball, and they couldn't. And if there's something we're learning, it's when this team can't run the ball, they really struggle. Period.
I mean, let's not get dramatic.
Let's not get dramatic. It's a loss. It's a loss.
Yes,
and
let's not get dramatic. What a wonderful thing to say at a press conference. It really is. I wish you'd said that after the Buffalo playoff loss. That would have been amazing, too.
It's not just Tomlin taking the blame. At the Fax Mob, Big Fax, the Fax Mob, trademarked. This loss is squarely on Najee Harris and Arthur Smith, period. Won't go too hard on Najee, but Arthur Smith is a liability, in my opinion. Called that bum-ass toss play until it blew up in our face. Guaranteed he's going to run it every single week, no matter what. Yeah, we're going to keep running it every single week, no matter what, unless we're down 17 again or something.
Well, I mean, they didn't get enough success with that running play. They didn't get enough success with any running plays. I mean, this team has to be able to run the ball. I'm not sure they would have had the toss. I could see how it's annoying because you see the same thing and it doesn't work. Okay, well, you're not going to win running right at Jalen Carter. Like that, I can tell you that's not going to work. I mean, if there's one thing we know about the Steelers, the way they do offense, particularly the way they talked about, you remember what their comments after the Falcons game? Hey, we thought those safeties were great. We avoided them completely. Other people didn't avoid those safeties. They lost to the Falcons. So I get the idea if we're going to try and run away from their best guy because, that they're not going to be able to, this Steelers team isn't going to be able to bully everybody, particularly not an actual bully like, again, Jalen Carter. So the toss was annoying that they couldn't make it work, but they couldn't make anything work running the ball.
That is a reasonable expectation.
That is reasonable. Speaking of running, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. At David Welsh Jr. Steeler fans need to write an angry letter to Arthur Smith asking him to stop calling those terrible tosses. People were acting like this is the new Canada jet sweep. Let me ask you, why do the Steelers run a running back toss, you think?
To avoid the guy in the middle. They couldn't get any push at the middle, so we were trying to get away from that. We were trying to get out to the corners where presumably you'd be able to block and or run over one of the many, many good Eagles corners, and they couldn't do that either. I do have to say, social media fried some of your brains. If you're going to make this work by sending a mean letter to the Steelers, why not get a change.org position going to get rid of somebody's tosses? This is, it's social. I mean, everyone has a voice, but social media made people believe that everyone's voice deserves to be heard and deserves to be heard by specific people, and absolutely not.
Yeah, what is this? The new Miracle on 34th Street? Everyone's going to write a letter, and Arthur Smith and Santa is we're going to dump all the letters out on in the courtroom. And
I will say we backed our way into a good take that Arthur Smith would make a fine Santa. Like he would absolutely nail that. That is. We went all the way around to a good call.
And your Yins are all on the naughty list. This is way too close to Christmas for some of these takes.
Honest to God, it's like, a week. Yeah, geez, oh man, less than a week. Oh my word.
You better, you're going to get a lump of coal, or you're going to get a Kenny Funko in your stocking, the way some of you Yins act. And the last of the offensive takes it's Austin Lutz. Austin, cut Najee Harris immediately. Losses 100% on him. That's certainly the turning point was the fumble.
Oh yeah, I mean that was definitively. They were driving to maybe tie it, as bad as they'd been, as much as they looked, and then after that everything ended. And again, if nothing else, it shows we go back to sometimes what's great about our podcast is we remember weeks other than the one that just happened, and this is so indicative of why Tomlin will do anything to keep turnovers from happening because it's the exact thing. As soon as that turnover happened, this game changed entirely. You can argue very definitively this game was lost as soon as Najee fumbled that toss. So that, that's why we're never getting the quarterback that does a lot of risky throws.
Yeah, you got to protect the ball. That's been the case certainly during the last, at least 3 years. And when you're behind, you definitely got to, that's the reason we were in the game was the turnovers.
And you're playing a better team. Like we've seen it with Ben. I mean, when we talk about playoff losses, so many of the playoff losses happened because Ben, in large part, Ben turned the ball over against a team they couldn't just come back on, a team that could score a lot, a team that was good on both sides. So maybe that's the real lesson here. Hey, you can't play this kind of looser. We'll warm our way up to the game against a really good team.
Yeah, but having Steeler fans remember even just a couple years ago.
Yesterday's a hard word.
Impossible.
Hard
Let's
word.
write a Langry letter.
Yeah, send your Santa letters now. Fire Arthur Smith. Oh well, you know what? It's con season in December. The tweet from @JLipsWatson23, Justin Lips Watson. That's all she wrote. The front office should be embarrassed for leaving this team as utterly devoid of offensive weapons as they have. Con artist? More like con artist with a C. We turn on him so quickly. I don't know. Can you blame Omar Khan at this point, 3 games away from the postseason, for the roster construction from 6 months ago?
Well, I mean, I do feel we were, if not gaslit a bit, then at least it was exaggerated to us as much as it was to the players that their second receiver is here, and this is the group. This the group, as Tomlin said, and maybe at time he was just looking at George. I don't know, but it's but man, without they do have a serious problem with the second receiver, particularly with Pat, having to be in there to block. But I mean, it's I think what's annoying about this is that, this was the one problem, a problem that people pointed out, the haters and the not haters, the entire season. And man, what happens if George gets hurt? And George got hurt, and man, was that an issue? Like, I mean, again, the best pass defense they're going to see. They could go to the Super Bowl. They won't see a better pass defense than this one. But oh my word, there was nobody open there.
But as far as we know, Omar Khan has done whatever he's been. It's not like he's been ignorant to the fact of the wideout room. We went after Ayuk as hard as we could,
yes,
and we made calls for guys like I don't know. Did we make calls for Cortland Sutton?
I was going to say, did they make calls for Devontae Adams, who went to Kansas City for a 5th? That's the one I was kind of wondering about, because, man, if I'm the Titans, I'm sitting there thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers 5th-round pick is going to be better than the one from the Chiefs. And that deal I wonder they could have made. But also, too, I don't know. I don't know Devontae. I don't know the personalities involved.
Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins, right. I'm thinking of the other Devontae with an A versus an E. Thank you. Or Nuke. I should have just called him Nuke. I don't want to do that because I don't want to call a human being Nuke. That's weird. But yes, Nuke, I feel like they could, maybe they could have gotten, but I don't know. I have no idea the ins and outs. I just saw the result. I don't know the process.
That'll be, I guess, do we get an Omar Khan press conference at the end of the season?
I think you get it. It's like the start of the next season. Okay. It's like the start of the off season. You get a big Khan press conference.
Maybe someone will ask, like, hey, can you detail who you went after? I don't know if it'll be that
Well,
specific.
Remember we got the one last year where it was like, who are you signing quarterback? Jerry Dulac made the joke, yeah, what do you get, Fields and Russell Wilson, right? You're getting them both, and then everyone laughed.
One last thing with Khan. This has been the new take this week at Scotty Loss, OG Enberg. This would have been a top 5 wideout duo if Steelers had made the right pick. F what any Steeler fans say. Brian Thompson Jr. should have been a Steeler because we took Fautanu with our pick when Brian Thompson Jr. was still on the board. A big game of what if there. I mean, we can't be second guessing that O-line pick. That was what everyone knew.
No, and moreover, Fautanu looked amazing when he was out there. There were reports he was easily the Steelers' best offensive lineman. With him, this game might be different, and all we're talking about these tosses very differently. And as to Brian Thomas Jr., people are only saying this because he went wild against, was it the Titans? Who did the Jags play this week? But the Jags played someone else who was hopelessly out of it, and Thomas had a great game, and everyone saw the highlight. I think he was your red zone player of the week, actually, as someone that flipped over to red zone in the early window. So that so I think that's why Brian Thomas talk is big this week. But it's Brian Thomas and the Jags were not playing the Eagles' pass defense.
Why not just say, why didn't we draft Brock Purdy over Kenny Pickett way back when?
And look at how that's working out for the Niners now. What a great decision they have to make on how much to pay him.
That's a lot.
We can't speculate And recollect.
That's a lot of reculation there. And then if we did take this Brian Thompson Jr., then we would Brian Thompson. We
Close
basically
enough. Who cares?
would be committing to a Dan Moore extension, and everyone would be like, "Why are we extending Dan Moore Jr.?" Well, because we went and picked your wideout in the first
and
round.
they're very possibly not extending George. Like that's the
Yeah?
other part of that too. Is that I mean, if you take this Thomas guy, because then that's what I meant. Then you're not extending George. Maybe you so yeah. I mean, Fautanu not getting hurt is still what they needed, but yeah, but again, this is you saw the flashy thing on TV and then you got mad about it. I mean, Thomas having this wild game against the Titans. I mean, he's had a very good season. I mean, he looks like a good receiver because the Jaguars are very bad.
Yeah, why not just trade up and try to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. or something? I don't know. I didn't even know who a Brian Thompson was. Thomas was until
call him Thompson. That's what this person deserves. Call him by that name. I should have started calling him Brian Thompson.
We didn't talk about the defense at You Tell Me Pod 1. You tell me what I just said. Steelers secondary making me rethink taking a wideout in the first round in 2025. Mm-hmm. It's such a toss-up on which position is worse every play. It seems like people are thinking cornerback is going to be an early pick. I still would think maybe defensive line. But if we re-sign Dante Jackson, is cornerback an early pick?
I think it goes in the first 3 or 4 rounds. I think because what do you have to find in the first 4 rounds? I do think defensive line and wide receiver, your first 2 picks, one way or the other. Then you have to find the corner. Then I think cornerback and the next Dan Moore, the next 4th round tackle that you hope develops. I think those are the kind of guys they will most likely be looking at. I think the secondary play has been trending downward a bit. I mean, the Bengals, it made sense. The best receivers in the world, but they weren't, great against the Browns. But again, Winston's going to take chances. But and this again, the second best set of receivers they're going to play. But yeah, they did not look great. I mean, Jackson didn't look good before he got hurt, and so yeah, and James Pierre fought valiantly. But there's a reason that James Pierre is a great special teams gunner. So yeah, the secondary did not look good and does not seem to be trending well. But that's also the most boom or bust position in a way. They're not going to see receivers that good until the last Bengals game, and who knows if Joe's even playing in that one. So
if the tackling was better than what it was, are we talking about the secondary as much? I mean, you give up yards and you give up catches all the time. You can't play strict man-to-man on these guys. You got to play some zone. And if the quarterback has above the neck is varsity, then they're going to find the holes.
Oh yeah, I mean, what was the very first who was it? He found the wide receiver on a Landon Roberts for that for the deep play, and then he found. And how many times did you see 42 tackling somebody because Hurts fouled the guy James Pierre was covering? I mean, this is the Steelers were measured up against maybe the best football team and found very wanting right now. I mean, that is the one thing you can definitely take from this game.
And wait, do we have to start, if we have to, and heaven forbid, we have to start blitzing more, and then it's going to make, just more mismatchups,
Yes.
I'm not, this defense is still a strength. I'm not ready to, there was a lot of Terrell Austin hate this week. It's
I'm sure.
Come on. It was missed tackles, if anything. And was it missed tackles, or were they just juking out some of the times it was like, oh, AJ Brown can move on a dime,
Oh yeah, I mean this is a great team they're playing, but I think that's again, I don't mean to keep quoting Alan Saunders, but he made the point that like this game was tough on people who thought like it's Super Bowl or bust this year, that this was a real go win the Super Bowl now team, or that they were going to get the 1 seed or something like that, and then you got to see what a real Super Bowl favorite looks like in their stadium.
And just this week, they were having doubts,
after the way they looked at the Panthers game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's like, everyone is boom or bust. It's a any given Sunday league. Mm-hmm. Let's bring them back. I'll see them again in February. I don't care. Just a couple weeks ago, I was saying how the ref play is inevitable, but I got to add David Todd. I don't know if it changes the outcome, but Steelers get completely screwed on 2 significant personal foul calls. Eagles player throwing multiple punches on the Harris run. Jalen Carter head slapping Connor Hayward. Officials rule the punt was away anyway when it was obviously not. I just said a couple weeks ago, refs, you can't, like Tomlin said, you can't blame the refs. But man, it's like those were opportunities that they went into the booth assist and they still couldn't get. I can't understand why. The goal is to get it right, and it's still not getting right. Even after these, New York assists, they're not seeing the same footage that we're seeing at home. It feels like I don't know.
Well, I had thought it was initially going to be offsetting on the very first the first play with Darnell Washington. I didn't. I don't mind the Steelers taking the brunt of the penalty on that, since Washington did instigate it by pushing that guy into the Schuylkill River. I mean, there was no way that he had to know to do that. The punt thing was bad. I mean, that's just you visibly get to see that that's wrong. I don't think the Steelers win with either of those calls anyway. I think the Eagles were just that much better. But I mean, it's that neither of those were necessarily a good look as far as officiating goes.
I don't know, that punt. The punt slap would have gave us the first down, right?
Oh yeah, it would have been absolutely. It's a first down. I mean, you can't punch a guy in the head. But yeah, it's and moreover that I think that's particularly frustrating because that's we talk about we're calling these penalties to get that play out of the game. Okay, well you have to get punching a guy in the head out of the game. I mean, that's something you couldn't do that in like the 50s when they were wearing the leather helmets.
And the flags came our way. I think of the roughing the passer, which some of those, any of those, you can be like, and maybe we got one there. I always say the refs try to keep it in the spread, and when that happened, I was like, the refs are helping us.
Right, I was going to say we were waiting for a few more calls there on that the fourth quarter maybe to keep that within the spread. Yes.
All right. Well, I think the band is yes. Only one more chance for a Renegade game? It's Christmas Day? Two.
Because they get the Bengals at home as well. It'll be a Renegade Christmas.
A Renegade Christmas. We need that version of the song.
I was going to say, well, it also sounds like finally an edgy Hallmark movie.
I watched a couple already.
I'll be getting into it. I'll be watch some riff tracks Christmas ones. I did that already.
And the new Christmas classic Carry On Netflix.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
Give me a break. That was, I don't know.
I have a particular set of skills. I can use this metal wand. Yes.
Pass. Okay. But I watch it Netflix. I watch anything that's free except for the Aaron Rodgers dog.
Attaboy. There you go.
Although I picked him up for my fantasy playoffs.
He's still throwing. Devontae Adams, the right Adams this time, has been catching the ball against some other teams that don't care.
All right, one last thing from at the Pony Express, Andrew Filipponi. It's funny, the insiders, well, maybe not the fan guys, but the insiders like DK and Wexel and Saunders, I feel like they've been the ones
positive,
that have stayed calm and carried on. Well, everyone else from Rex Ryan to, well, here's the fan, of course, at the Pony Express, Andrew Filipponi. If the Steelers sweep the Ravens and win the AFC North, it's a good season, even if they lose in the wild card round of the playoffs. Do you agree with me? At first, I was like, no, I don't agree. We need a playoff win. But then, okay, well, a good season. We win the division. That's always a good, it's not, but maybe our expectation. That's the thing. The Steeler Nation.
Expectations change.
Yeah, good.
And Tomlin's acknowledged that. I mean, he said that. Your expectation change as the path gets narrow. That's, the path both gets narrow and ascends.
Good is not good enough for Steelers Nation. You're like 9-8, 10-7. That's not good enough. The expectation is greatness. And so it'll still be a good season, best season in 5 years, right? So, and we win this division. Isn't that what's the narrative going to be on the 2024 season if we beat Baltimore? It's going to be they won the division, they had the hardest division schedule ever, they had the hardest December schedule, and they made it work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's where legacies are forged in the playoffs. But there's also a lot of teams too in this one. I mean, what do I say at the start every year since we started this podcast? I want to see growth. I've seen it already.
Yeah, I want Russ Wilson back. I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know, that was a great decision.
Yes, it
Man,
was.
you know, I mean, I hate to say it after this fumble. I'm like, well, maybe Najee doesn't get that contract.
Well, I mean, but it's not just the fumble. I mean, it's not like it's you know, you can find a guy to do this. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Najee, but you know, with that money you free up, maybe that's where you get the other corner. Maybe that's where you get, you know, it helps pay for some megaton wide receiver. Maybe it's, you know, I do think, you know, if there's one thing we've learned in the last couple years, it's that if even the haters have criticism of the Steelers, Tomlin and Khan feel that too, and we'll try to address it. That's what I got out of the quarterback thing last year. So I imagine this might be the last year that they go into a season with a big glaring need that everyone saw coming. That's kind of my guess. I also think this, like 2 years ago, was the last year they go into the season without having that big experienced winning quarterback like Russ, at least under Tomlin. So I think, you know, the things they learn as they go, they take care of a lot of the stuff they've already known and learn things as they're picking them up.
You're exactly right.
Exactly right. Yeah, I feel more confident with Russ going into the playoffs, no matter what our seed is, than with the you know, the Kenny era.
Or even Fields.
Even the old man Ben. Even that you know, even that last season, it was like, okay, you know, if we pull out the miracle,
or even the Jags game where he lost that. I mean, it's, you know, or even the end of the Browns when he looked so tough in that December. You know, it's all this kind of stuff. And also as we sit here today, a few days before Christmas, we don't know. We didn't know. If you were there in 2005, you remember no one thought that team was going to win that Cincinnati game. We don't know at this point in time what's coming.
And then going to Indianapolis, you know, that was
the biggest underdogs in forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about that playoff run forever. Yes, we don't know at this time. We just don't.
That's what we've been talking about.
That is what we've been talking about. You know, 3 weeks left in the regular season. Can we please just rally and you know, feel good about this team?
Or start getting ready for the playoffs now. They're already in.
Yeah, best team in 5 years, and we're gonna act like we're walking the plank instead of firing the shots.
To do the polar plunge.
Yeah, get out of here with these. I want to, you know, it's too close to Christmas. You guys must think that you got the stocking in the bag because, you know, Santa, he might. I don't think he loads up. You know, I don't think it's loaded yet. So
no. Santa doesn't make those decisions until the last second. Santa. Wait, your legacy is forged in December when it comes to Santa.
When I'm talking about clock management, there's still time to get on the naughty list, Steeler Nation, and Yinz are all on it.
Oh man.
Okay, let's keep the conversation going somehow. The Slack seems to be, I don't know, there's no one on the Slack. No one wants to join our Slack. We'll talk fun about the Steelers instead of just talking crap. But otherwise, I guess you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok. I was doing a lot of turn in your towel tweets this week. I got a lot of eye rolls in the replies by my reply. I guess I'm a reply guy. Anyway, find me on those platforms at Kyle Chrise. Greg, how about yourself?
Unfortunately, you can find me on Instagram at Greg Benevent, B as in boy, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
Until next week, we're gonna have to. It's Christmas. We're gonna have to
figure out something.
We're gonna have to drop this before the game on Christmas Day.
Great. Okay.
Maybe if I have my act together, maybe we'll have a special Hard Knocks AFC North Pole edition. We'll see if I get my act together. That's a deep tease, or it could be a big failure. Maybe I'll be the one tossing the ball to my running back for a loss. All right. Until Christmas Day, keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.